Right. So that's how the international media, particularly in America, has been looking at all of this. And even though these detainees were transferred from their country, they are asking questions and they are seeking to know what may have exchanged hands between Ghana and their country. After all, it actually took the House, the members of the Congress or Senate, who had said that these gentlemen, these men, were high risk and that they were not needed on American soil. Mohammed Salih Khalid Dube and Mohammed Omar Mohammed bin Atef. These are the guys who are now here in Ghana. In fact, they're supposed to have been transferred on the 6th of January 2016. So as we speak, they may just be with you the next house. Yeah. So what's our problem? I like to find out, start with, okay, we've also been joined by Abraham Amalba, who is a private legal practitioner and is with the NDC. Thank you very much for joining us, sir.
Thank you for having me.
Great. Now, Egbert, start with you. Ghanaians are known to be very hospitable. Why the hue and cry about all of this? Because we are told that these are guys who were held for 14 years, they were never charged for any offense. In the end, they are found that they were really not, involved in anything. So they've been allowed to go.
Yes, Samson, Ghanaians are very cause to be worried because I think that this decision by the Mahama administration is reckless and unpatriotic. I say so because, Samson, even in the West African milieu, we know and see that Nigeria, is going through all kinds of pangs as a result of this Boko Haram, miasma that surrounds Nigeria and pervades that country. Now, globally, we've seen countries like Somalia, or let me say Kenya, Tanzania, have suffered at the African level all kinds of, bombings and the rest. These are as a result of active and sleeper cells connected to Taliban, Al-Qaeda, ISIS, and all kinds of Al-Shabaab and all kinds of groupings coming up. Now you have a country, a blessed country called Ghana. As the Fox News, report said, very small West African country. Yes, we are, to an extent, a certain jewel when it comes to peace in the sub-region and even in world, matters. And then you have a government who wakes up one day and decides, without recourse to human security considerations of its very people, that it is supposed to protect, and says, I've accepted these two people. Samson, it gives cause for worry. The Ghanaian is known to be hospitable. The Ghanaian is known to even go out of his or away to deprive himself or herself for the comfort of a foreigner. So if you get Ghanaians, and I'm saying this because I know on social media you see people who speak for this government in their private capacities, coming up with positions that are averse to what the government has done. It puts you on your hackles, and then you get to realize that, look, despite our political differences, when it comes to our social national cohesion, the average Ghanaian knows what is good for this country. And this decision by the Mahama administration, Samson, is not good for this country and its people, and it is further for any of these, people on edge in global terrorism to look at this country and say, oh, here you are, you have the United States having created a problem for so many years, and then now that it wants to, disengage, instead of allowing some of these detainees or these detainees to go back to their home countries, you have agreed to accept them so that America will have a certain, kind of, if you like, problem off its hands. Okay, my attention is now on you. For what you've done, I'm going to punish you. If that should happen, what will we do? Did the government not think of this? Look, these guys who've come, Samson, what is going to be their legal status? Are they refugees? No. If you read about it, the European Union has a package on it. You cannot even as a country restrict their movements unless it is by a court order. So they can go anywhere any Ghanaian is not prohibited from going. They can go to the University of Ghana, Central University, KNUST, UCC, and say they are signing up for degrees. No, they are signing up for degrees. And you have a situation in your country where graduates of at least, a graduate of one of our public universities has left town, supposedly to join one of these groups. You have not considered all these things. I think that Ghanaians will just have to flee to our tents and pray to God that this strike at the nerve of our nation by the Mahama administration should not be forgiven.
I don't know why we are all so emotional about this. You may explain further to me, as if it is only Ghana that is receiving some of these. There are supposed to be about 800 in all. In fact, 780 of these people who were detained in that military base. Out of that number, 667 have been transferred, and 104 are waiting also to be transferred. When you check, the New York Times did a project, and out of that it was able to secure some very secret documents and publish some of them. You would find that about 205 were taken to Afghanistan. Saudi Arabia received about 124. Pakistan received some 63. Yemen, where these guys come from, received about 22. Algeria received 17. Britain received 15. Morocco received 13. Kuwait, Sudan, Tajikistan, Algeria, Albania, Oman, Kazakhstan, France, Slovakia, all of these received about between 6 and 7 of them. Then you have Turkey, Germany, and the rest who received about 2, and some other countries like Chad, Estonia, Denmark receiving just 1 each of these people. Why is Ghana such a special case?
Well, Samson, let me firstly say a good morning to your viewers and your listeners. I think for every Ghanaian, there are a number of questions that we need to ask, regardless of how many countries are taking whoever. We need to look after our own. We need to look after our own interest. Why does the government take such a decision and doesn't consult its people? That's one. If Parliament is in recess, why not call Parliament? Why not bring the issue up during the parliamentary sitting? Why not even have a public debate on it?
This is executive presidency. You vested it with power to take decisions on your behalf.
It's about decision.
Article 71 of the Constitution, that it's in its diplomacy and international relations.
Yes,
it should take such decisions which are in the interest of you and I.
So is it in the interest of to take these prisoners? See, the issue is, here are 2 people who've been incarcerated for 14 years. Most of the time in isolation. So there are medical issues apart from security issues. There are medical issues which arises from isolation. There are medical issues which arises from frustration. I've forgotten what the medical term is. But it means that if you're incarcerated for long periods, or if you have a period of frustration, it leads to a violent behavior. Is the government going to tell us what due diligence it did with regard to security, with regard to the medical conditions of these people? Going beyond that, are we going to support American illegality? Because these men have not been tried, they've not been put through any court of law, any rule of law. And it's even a controversy in their own country. How then do we accept a process which many people believe is an illegality? Are we going to become part of an American, because we are supporting the rendition which has gone on in Guantanamo Bay and before that, and this is the end result of it. Are we going to continue with that? This is where the security issues begin to come. If we accept it, then we are accepting part of that illegality. Going beyond that, I don't believe that Ghana should be a dumping ground for people that other people don't want. And we seem to be, under this government, becoming a dumping ground for virtually anything.
These are people who are connected to the Taliban, who are connected to Al-Qaeda, and so on.
Yes, but they haven't been brought to...
But now has been established that they don't pose a risk.
Who is establishing what? We need to do our own due diligence. What I'm saying is,
so we're told that our ambassador, who is a former, commander of our Ghana army.
Well, let the government tell us. I mean, have they done a due diligence on the medical condition of these people? But what I'm saying is, we should not be a dumping ground, regardless of what other countries are doing. And we're becoming a dumping ground for virtually anything: cheap goods, poisonous seeds, toxic waste, and now toxic prisoners. I say toxic because nobody wants them. It's a product almost that no other country will freely. Why doesn't America itself take them? Why don't they release them into the American society?
One of them threatened
because
twice,
they are toxic.
Threatened twice
Precisely.
that he would deal with America. So they don't need him there.
Well, so these are the people that you're telling us have been proved to be harmless. They are no threat, and you're saying in another breath that America says that they are a threat to America, and therefore they don't want them there. But we should take them in Ghana. These are toxic prisoners, and this is symptomatic of what this government has been doing, allowed Ghana to become a dumping ground for virtually anything: toxic waste, toxic prisoners, and it's a very, very, very bad decision. And it's a bad decision because symptomatic to allowing Ebola vaccines in this country, all sorts of bad decisions that this government continues to take without consideration for the health of the nation, consideration for the well-being of this nation, the security of this nation. I think that whether they have the power constitutionally or not, it would have been better for this government to have consulted the nation, to have generated some discussion on it. What do the people of this country think? After all, I believe that there's a medical risk to if you live as a neighbor to these people. They've lived in isolation, as I've said. They are frustrated. That leads to violence. It's
in fact, one of them is known, like I read out earlier, is known to undertake hunger strikes, and also he is supposed to have been diagnosed with this major depressive disorder.
Precisely.
And yet refuses to take antidepressants.
Yes, and so the medical outcome of somebody who is having that condition is violence. So if you're a neighbor and such a person is living next to you, he can wake up one day and just decide to, assault his neighbors, assault anybody on the street as part and parcel of his isolation and frustration.
Let me ask Ursula, like you said earlier, that this is obviously not in the national interest. Egbert has also said so. And there are millions of Ghanaians who seem to echo the same sentiment that this is not in the interest of Ghana. And I was referring to rather Article 73. I said Article 71. Article 73, 71 is so popular. How did I mix it up? Has to do with a lot of cash. 73, the government of Ghana shall conduct its international affairs in consonance with the accepted principles of public international law and diplomacy in a manner consistent with the national interest of Ghana. From what many Ghanaians are saying, is there some, redress for them to say go to court to change anything and say the government's decision was not in the national interest?
Well, thank you, Samson, again. And let me say good morning to your viewers and listeners. As always, it's a pleasure to be on Newsfile. But what is our national interest? And I ask that question because, one, we need to develop our security policy, foreign policy, internal policing policy, based on what our national interest is. And that can't be determined by the president alone sitting in the comfort of his office. No, he needs to sit down and consult widely and decide that this is the path that we want to chart. And as a result of that, we develop all these policies. We haven't done that. And so we're being told that the president, in the goodness of his own heart, has decided that this is what is good for us and shoved it down our throats. But it is a really, really worrying thing. And I just want to re-echo what Egbert and Ni have already said. We live in a very volatile neighborhood. You have these individuals who have terrorist leanings. America is telling us that they are not terrorists. Why did they keep them locked up for 14 years? If they were just harmless individuals walking along the streets. They deemed them of such a security threat that they kept them locked away, not even on the US mainland, but on Guantanamo Bay in Cuba for 14 whole years. Now that they want to clean up their act based on a campaign promise by President Obama, they are looking for willing, I wanted to use scapegoats, but it doesn't seem to be a very appropriate word.
Compliant nations.
Compliant nations to shove the dirty, well, toxic material onto, to quote, to use Nee's word. But this is what America has determined to be in its national interest. What's ours? Exactly why would we do this? What's in it for us? Is it just good neighborliness? Yemen is not our neighbor. Neither is America or Guantanamo Bay. If it had been a West African national who was caught in such circumstances, needing a safe haven, and we took them in, it would make sense to me because they would be our neighbor in the proper sense of the word. Look at where Yemen is. If Yemen can't take them, I mean, we have absolutely nothing in common culturally, socially, geographically, linguistically, culinarily, or whatever. They don't eat our food, speak our language, dress like us, talk like us, live like us. They are not like us. Why do you bring them here? And having been incarcerated...
What they eat or what you call it, the U.S. Embassy says, the U.S. is taking care of that. That's not your business.
Well, they're living amongst us. If they're having culture shock, it is the neighbors who would feel the brunt of their reaction to that culture shock. How is America going to insulate them or create a Yemen in Ghana for them to live in, such that they will not feel dislocated? Anybody would feel that way. And we, for all you know, they're living in your backyard. Well, they're your neighbors. They're living next door to you. We don't know where they are. It's the same way that pedophiles who had served their term were allowed to roam freely amongst us and ended up corrupting some of our young people. It is not just enough to say that we're being good neighbors and it's a humanitarian gesture. All well and good, but what benefit would Ghana derive from this? And that's what we're not being told. We're being told that there was no cash transfers. But if you listen to the Fox News, when these transfers have been done in the past, some consideration has passed. So exactly what did the government of Ghana get from the US government to make this transfer worthwhile to them? Look at the neighborhood in which we live. We have Al-Qaeda in the Maghreb, operating in the Maghreb regions, aligned to Al-Qaeda, which these people are affiliated to. We have ISIS, which is operating in the Middle East, but whom Boko Haram claims has linkages to. We have Al-Shabaab, which is in East Africa, and happily destabilizing them, that region, causing the death of our own Victor Gbaho, Kofi Awuno, not too long ago. And we have porous borders. Nigerian criminals are quite happily operating here with impunity because they say it is easier to do business here than in Nigeria. Drug traffickers have found this place a nice...
You mean we cannot believe the government of Ghana when it says that they will be monitored, there will be surveillance and all of that, so there's no opportunity for them to do anything wrong?
Unfortunately, the evidence on the ground attests to the fact that we have neither the capability or the resources or the personnel to be able to monitor these people adequately.
Even when we are being assisted by the US?
Well, with all due respect, let them help us flush out the Chinese who are busily polluting our waters, who are operating with impunity here, which we have found ourselves incapable of getting rid of. They are here, Chinese nationals, working wherever they can to mine their gold. Our security systems, despite the number of operations that we have supposedly undertaken, have proven incapable of getting rid of them. Look at the state of our security services. Fine men and women in uniform, but completely overwhelmed by even the homegrown security issues that we have, why would we want to import terrorists into our midst? And let no one tell us that they're not terrorists. America wouldn't have kept them locked up for 40 years if they weren't terrorists.
No, but you're a lawyer. You know they were not charged, they were not tried. So they've not been convicted of being terrorists, except that they themselves had confessed or had said that they had linkages with Al-Qaeda, with Osama bin Laden and the rest.
The man is a self-confessed terrorist. Do I have to have a court judgment to verify that he is what he has claimed he is?
The Americans believe that, for example, one of them refused to take an oath for Obama, and that's good enough to suggest that he cannot be a risk.
One of them has said...
I said, is it Osama bin Laden? One of them refused to take an oath for him. Those who take oath for him are the ones that are dange's. They will do anything.
Well, I'm sorry. I'm like, my people will say, I'm not convinced by that kind of argument. What is even more scary for me, with the little security thing that I went to study at Kofi Annan, is that these people have claimed that given the chance, they will attack Americans. And so America does not want them. Why would Ghana position itself as an ally of America and willingly accept them into our midst? Would that hatred for America not be transferred to its allies? And will that not expose us to particular risk, being that they're going to live and walk and move among us quite freely? And we, even though you can monitor them, you cannot fetter their, you can't put leg irons on them or tag them or whatever. You can't treat them like you would treat, you can't treat them separately from the way you, differently from how you treat your own nationals.
Because they are not coming here to continue us in prison.
No.
They are free
So
now.
please, the assurances were a little thin. And I'm sure somebody wasn't thinking through this decision and not thinking about the safety and security of Ghanaians. And it's, with our porous borders, weak unpoliced airspaces, look at our coastlines. Free for all. Anything at all can come in and out.
I'll speak to them, Alba, and return to you for the final word.
To wrap up, it is very easy for them to coalesce with like-minded individuals and create another theater of operations for their group in West African sub-region, something none of us wants to see done. And I'm not hearing any assurances that that isn't going to happen,
okay.
or whether the government even is capable
from
of
Major
giving us
Derek,
those
is it Derek
assurances.
Odro of the Defense Committee of Parliament, that Ms. Hannah Tete will be summoned for the House as early as possible for her to answer some questions on this. I would like to find out from you, what will be the end of that? What will Parliament be seeking? Is it to reverse this decision and send them back?
Returned.
And we are also being warned that if they are returned, then we are still equally creating some problems. We'll get to that. But
well, tough.
But Abraham, what do you say? What do you know that went into such a consideration that is so unpopular?
Let me say good morning to your listeners and viewers alike. I can understand the apprehension that Ghanaians have regarding these two personalities who are in this country. But I also know that there is no much information provided the public, and that's why you have that hue and cry.
For now, we are reading
So why not
the
consult
information that we
before the
know from
decision?
America about them. If you read the Guantanamo Bay dockets, if you read it and you find these two in there, some of the information about them is quite disturbing, except that they have now been cleared. In fact, one of them at a point sought the process to be cleared and was not cleared because they were not sure about him.
Now, let me continue by saying that there are over 50 countries all over the world that have accepted to take in these detainees. You know that, you mentioned some of them.
Many of them are their nationals.
France, particularly, which was recently targeted and suffered from these attacks, is receiving at least one or two. So I think that what is important is that we are not the only country receiving these detainees. Point number two is that they are not terrorists. And I must state here clearly.
Self-confessed.
These are people who were rounded up and
Illegally.
they were rounded up and they were made to go into detention camps for 14 years, after which the US government came out to say that they cannot find evidence to associate them with any of the terrorist groups. So as we speak now, it is wrong for anybody to label them as terrorists. Ghana is a member of the international community. We have responsibilities. We have obligations to assist the international community in times of crisis. We have that obligation. Now, as a member of the international community, we have been called upon to provide this assistance. Don't forget that what was being done at Guantanamo Bay was an illegality that was perpetrated against the citizens of this world. What we are doing is rather righting the wrong. What we are rather doing is to right the wrong that the US government perpetrated against these citizens of the world. We are rather accepting them to help them to integrate into society. So we cannot be a target as being claimed on this platform. We are not the ones who arrested them. We are not the ones who rounded them off. We are rather asking them to come so that we could give them their freedom. We are not the ones who are creating the problems, as you find in the case of the US, who arrested them without a trial. Now, I think that we should defer to the superior knowledge of our security agencies in this country. I think that we have men and women who man our security agencies, and they are up to scratch. In fact, our security is noted to be one of the best when we go for international peacekeeping.
Here Kofi Nyako, he says,
Are they consulted?
Kofi Nyako says, we can't monitor or control Fulani headsmen. How much more terrorists we have to be careful?
That is out of place.
Oh, is it?
Fulani herdsmen are a community. These are just two persons. Let me tell you.
You can't even monitor the community.
Today you had on this platform the EC commissioner. I can tell you that if the state apparatus, the security agencies, could not guarantee her safety, she would have come here.
Holy Moses.
Now, these two persons.
What?
No, don't worry. I know what he's referring to. I didn't want to give it any life because there were obvious NDC propagandists, very shameless guys who went on social media and said that there is a threat that MPP guys were coming to ambush her here. For what?
Goodness.
And so she shouldn't come to the show.
These were
shameless thing they did.
Real.
They were not real. They were not real. They were not
But
real.
you saw the security agencies around.
No.
You saw.
We decided not to take chances.
Okay.
But we knew that was good. It was mere propaganda.
So you decided not to take chances.
Let's not go there.
Let's not go there.
Because
you knew that
everybody was
there's a likelihood that such a thing could happen.
It was reckless propaganda.
No, but you decided not to take chances because you knew that such a thing could happen.
Okay.
So
let's keep to the discussion here. Yeah.
So clearly, the security agencies of this country, the intelligence chief, took into consideration the capacity of this country to be able to monitor and to accommodate them in this country. The fears that we all have is about probably their ability to create havoc and to cause mayhem in this country.
And their medical
And clearly, I, sitting here, would defer to the superior knowledge of the security chiefs than to listen to wayside street analysis of security matters.
Are you on the streets? Are you on the wayside?
Excuse us, none of us here is a wayside analyst.
Is somebody affected? Are you a wayside analyst?
Was there a psychiatric
Are you a wayside analyst? If the cap fits you, wear it. What that I'm saying is that I will not listen to wayside and people when I know that there are security chiefs who have the competence to deal with this matter. And what are they telling us? They have told us that they were able to have discussions with these two persons, and in line with the U.S. government's own assertion, they no longer pose a threat.
There's a U.S. military guy, friend of a French journalist, who has actually suggested that these people are dangerous. And he says, this is a U.S. military guy who also claims to have worked in that military installation. He says they were fighting with the guards in there, and they caused a lot of trouble. He doesn't believe that Ghana's security guys can handle them.
This is a U.S. Army official.
Yes.
I, on any day, will rely on my Army official here than a U.S. Army official who doesn't know the terrain of Ghana.
Okay.
The penchant to see whatever is coming out from America as superior to what is in Ghana should be thrown into the dustbin. See, our embassy in the U.S. also did due diligence. You understand? You had the ambassador who is also a general in our army here, who has even, you know his pedigree as a military man. We had the opportunity of him also profiling these persons. And we are being told that they do not pose a risk. Anybody who then says that the government is reckless, I must say that that person must have been reckless because he also did not follow the discourse.
Let me ask. What do you say about the questions that government should have interacted with us before?
That's what I made a point.
Or should have gone to Parliament at least?
No, for Parliament, you made the right point there. This is an executive presidency. This is not a legislative presidency. This is not a prime minister who must go to Parliament to talk to his colleagues. This is an executive presidency. We have voted him, and he takes the issues on our behalf. If you think that what he's done is wrong, you have your thumb. Next time you vote him out. But it is not every pin that falls that he comes to Parliament on it. But it is right, I'm hearing now, and I made a point on another platform, that Parliament has power to invite the Minister of Foreign Affairs to come and tell the people of this country why he took that decision or why the government took that decision.
Let me ask
that for me is the right thing to do. But to say that the president should always resort to Parliament before we take a decision, I'm afraid that's not the kind of governance system we have chosen. I think that this government would not, under any condition, put the lives of people, of these citizens at risk. In fact, the president's demeanor does not look like somebody who would allow...
Are you concerned? Are you not concerned? A very final question to you. Are you not concerned? Are you not concerned about how unpopular this decision is? You, for example, latch onto my reference to countries where some of them have been repatriated, so to speak, transferred, and Esla quite correctly pointed out to you that they are going back to their own country. In most of those countries, it's their homes that they are going back to.
One question.
Are you concerned about how unpopular this decision is?
That's why I said that it is based on the lack of information that is not provided for the people. And so I can understand the hullabaloo that is following this decision. But I'm saying that clearly we are a member of the international community. We have responsibilities, and we are being called upon to discharge those responsibilities. I am hearing people saying that there is no benefit coming from America. Must it always be benefit? Do you know how we have benefit from the Americans in this country? The support they have given us, the N1 highway, where did it come from? Must it just be
Millennium Compact?
Where did it come from? So must it always be that there must be an immediate benefit before we can discharge our
responsibility? Thank you very much. Let me hear from Ni briefly. Some 2 minutes for Egbert, and also I'll end up with Esla.
Yes. As you seem to have some information on what you say is a security profiling has done. What about psychiatric and medical profiling?
I'm telling you that.
Because I know
this
medically.
Is what I'm telling you.
I know medically.
Let him finish. Let him finish.
No, he asked me.
Let him finish.
I know that medically, people who are isolated for long periods, it leads to a condition which I don't remember the name, but based on frustration. And that leads to violent reaction from these persons. So one of the things that we should do is not just a matter of whether they are a military threat. Yes, I agree. I think there's a military threat, and you can tell us that military profiling has been done, etc. But has a medical profiling been done on these two?
When these requests come,
because if they were my neighbor, I'd be very concerned that they don't come and attack me at night.
When these requests come, and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs has indicated in their statement that they would look at the resources of the country and the capacity. So do we have the resources to take care of them? And do we have the capacity to take care of them? All these things have been factored in.
Okay. The question is,
all these things have been
the question is that
okay.
I believe that these two are medically dangerous to the nation.
Okay, thank you. Point made. Thank you very much. Egbert, 2 minutes. Final
my
points.
2 minutes, I just want to say that, you see, we should not be consigned to dustbin analysis. Dustbin analysis, as we have been saying. What does Amaliba mean when he says that we have security chiefs here and that he would rather take their word? France, the Charlie Hebdo attacks.
Thank you.
Were there no security chiefs? Yeah. The recent massacre in Paris, were there no security chiefs? 9/11, when it happened, were there no security chiefs?
In fact, we know the status of their security.
If you want to do that kind of comparison, I'll tell you that our security chiefs here are the level of Boy Scouts. With the level of Boy Scouts, no disrespect intended for any security chief. But if you want to escalate it, I'll tell you that the kind of sophistication that the Western world and their militaries have, we don't have a quarter. And yet you want me to sit here as a citizen of Ghana, put in this country by God, because you purport to speak for government, and government has taken a reckless, unpatriotic decision to say that I should defer to the security chiefs. For Christ's sake, let me tell you something. Some of us will prefer to be unpatriotic by defending this country against the government than being patriotic in cause by defending this government against the country.
What can be done about
it?
What can be done about it?
What can be done about it is that Mr. Mahama and his government should immediately listen to the people of Ghana
and
put these guys on the next available plane. Let me tell you, Kwame Nkrumah, when he was president, brought African liberation fighters to this country. Today, when you look at the dividends, Ghana enjoys, a certain level of respect as a result of the help that we gave.
Okay.
Can you look Ghanaians in the face and tell them that these two guys, even though they are two, can show up Ghana's image anywhere in the world?
Okay. Hold on. Thank you. Just hold on. I'll come to you. I'll come to you right away. Forget about that.
This panel is not fair.
Let me tell you this.
Three proponents asked against me.
No, but the fact is that wait. Amaba, wait.
Three of them.
Let me tell you this. My view is that it doesn't matter the number of the people and what they think. So hold on.
Swipe at me. You should expect that I will have to reply.
Okay, just hold on. Hold on. I'll come to you.
Did I say
gentlemen?
I said that.
Thank you, Amalba.
Well,
now,
it didn't fit me.
Now, I'm asking Esla, the call for government to return them. There is a Ghana Institute of Governance and Security, which says, among other things, that, it says that although we are emotionally attached to our territorial state sovereignty, nationalism, and democratic system of governance, they are saying that we never rejected hegemony influence. In addition, we should recognize
what does that mean?
I don't know what it means. We should recognize that the strong will diplomatically exert their influence on our leaders, and to a larger extent tie their hands at their back for so many reasons known to us. Then this is the plea they are making, that please let us extend a faithful hand of friendship, welcoming these detainees, but challenge our government to guarantee the nation with surveillance, intelligence, and that they will protect the country against any unforeseen circumstances. Shouldn't this be the way to go now, rather than seek to take them back?
Unfortunately, much as one would love to believe that our government can provide us with those guarantees, their own track record indicates that they will be incapable of giving us any such guarantees. And so it will be difficult for us to just throw our arms up in the air and say, yes, we are poor, so anybody at all can walk into our homes and do whatever they like in our homes and get away with it, if I understood what the statement appears to mean. No, I may be poor, but I get to decide who I invite into my personal space. Yes. The government gets to decide who we invite into our country. The vast majority of people who have spoken on this matter, they may be street side analysts, but they're Ghanaians, red-blooded, just like you and I. concerned about the safety and security of their children and their children's children, like anyone else. We have a right
Parliament's
to say.
Defense and Interior Committee says it will push for an early recovering of the reconvening of the House to enable the legislators quiz Foreign Minister Hannah Tete over the transfer of these two Guantanamo Bay detainees to Ghana. That's according to Major Derek Odro, retired. What will Parliament be doing?
I'm a friend of that committee, and I would quite happily be part of that quizzing. But judging by the statement she's put out, it doesn't provide us with any information at all, safe to say that, yes, we brought them in. Tough. If you don't like it, we've taken an executive decision. That's not good enough. With all due respect, it's not good enough. If they were inviting them to come to their homes to live with them, that's their own business.
Okay.
But they've been released into the community. Nobody knows where they are. And unfortunately, my fear is that they will form a nucleus around which like-minded individuals can coalesce for them to plan whatever indoctrination they want about impressionable young minds here who are being siphoned away to go join ISIS. And it is a real threat. We can't just sit there and say that as an executive president, they've taken the decision. If we don't like it, we should vote them out.
Okay, so in 30 seconds, hold on, I'll come to you. Egbert, I was saying that if all of you agree that this decision is not in the national interest, is it possible for any individual citizen to activate Article 73 and say it's not in the national interest, and so some courts should make a declaration?
So I think you should read what Article 73 says.
Yes, I've read it. I read it earlier. The government of Ghana shall conduct its international affairs in consonance with the accepted principles of public international law and diplomacy in a manner consistent with the national interest of Ghana.
This certainly is not in the national interest. This certainly cannot be in the national interest. Something every Ghanaian, whether NDC, CPP, MPP, mention all the parties.
Near unanimity. Apart from the NDC
we are scared.
Official spokesperson.
We are scared. Look
at
our reaction when the Circle disaster happened. You understand? And all those things. That shows you, if you like, the calm nature of the Ghanaian. So for a government that is supposed to be the pinpoint of national security assurance and the rest, to leave such a critical matter to be sprung on us at the last minute, and then you get a foreign minister coming without discussion.
If our security is porous, and such persons want to enter into this country, they can enter anyway. So what are we saying?
Something, you know what? After all,
but don't invite them in.
What you don't know.
Okay. Thank you. Yes.
There are 25 million Ghanaians.
Yes.
Can anybody tell me that I'm hearing unanimity, that they have sampled and that the 25 million Ghanaians are in cahoots with them, that this decision is wrong?
There's a way to tell. If you listen to radio and TV all over.
No, there are millions who don't listen to radio.
Okay.
Have you sampled them?
And no support this.
Have you sampled them?
Send them to his hometown.
You want to hold a referendum on this?
Mr. Mahama, send them to Amalebe's hometown.
The point is this.
They'll quite happily receive them there.
These two persons are not, and we had the information, they were not active participants in combat. They were not. They were locked down. Anybody here should tell me.
For 40 years,
See, when I'm talking, you should also be patient enough to listen to me. When you were spewing all garbage like what Egbert has said, Egbert used harsh words.
You are saying what you said about Mr. Akonfra. Kindly retract and let's move on.
No,
you said he's been spewing something.
No, in fact, if you want me to withdraw, it's not to Akonfra.
Please.
It was to Egbert.
Please
withdraw. Please withdraw and let's move on. Thank you very much.
But I think that you must also get to withdraw the statement he said about me. He insulted me.
What did
you listen to him? He insulted me here.
No, we didn't hear any
He insulted me. When he was making reference to the military chiefs. When I made a point that the military chiefs, I will take their word as against his word. You insulted me.
What was the insult?
But did I insult you?
Okay.
You insulted me.
What was the insult?
You insulted
None of
me.
us heard it.
Oh, I did not insult you.
I think he's referring to what you also said.
Samson.
You
That's been
insulted me.
analysis.
Samson,
That's
you
been
insulted
analysis.
me.
I think
Where's
to be
apology?
fair.
You insulted me.
I think to be
You
fair.
insulted me.
I think to be fair.
Samson,
I think to be fair.
Samson, wait,
Yes.
wait.
I think to be fair.
Wait.
I think to
You
be
must hear a
fair.
man before
He's
you
drawing
condemn
your
him.
attention
No,
to
but
it
you
that
must hear a man
he
before you
feels
condemn him.
he feels hurt by that.
No, but let me explain something.
You
We were
sat
on
here
this
and said it
panel
was what a
when
kind of
Mr.
analysis.
Maliba,
Street side
my
analysis.
junior at the bar,
Mine as well.
said that we are doing wayside analysis. Samson, I was taken
we're having
aback,
an
and that
analysis
is
in
what
this room.
made
That's not an
me
insult.
also come back at him in that way.
See.
And so, if he wants me to withdraw and apologize to him, he should withdraw the wayside analysis comment.
The wayside
When see that he has
Listen to
done
me.
the document.
I made the point that I will not listen
This
to
is
waste.
not how we're
Did I say that
trained at
you
the
people
bar.
here
You
were
don't
doing
speak to
waste
yourself.
We
analysis?
are
That
having
way.
an analysis in
I
this
never
room.
said that.
thank you.
I never said that here. I never said that here was
didn't
waste
tell you that
analysis.
sense.
Okay, I take a
I
break
said
here.
that here
We'll return
was
to
not
deal with
waste
other
analysis.
matters having to do with new regulations and also what the Trades Union
are we at the
Congress
bar?
is
Are you older than
threatening.
me?
We'll be right back.
Older
Are you older than me?
in life.
Yes. Are you?